If you weren't lucky enough to be the oldest to inherit the house, right?
I get the house.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Textbooks are pretty cool.
You like
Textbooks are
textbooks?
pretty
You prefer
cool.
a textbook? No.
We're the Farnsworths. We're working on our 5th year of full-time living in our RV as a travel nurse family. Come along with us on contract number 14 in Worcester, Massachusetts as we explore beautiful New England this fall.
It's another beautiful day in New England, and I am excited to bring history to life today. The cool thing about homeschool and school in general is that topics come around and around and around again. And especially as your kids get older, they're learning the same things kind of on a rotation basis. They've already learned about the American Revolution before. Several years ago, we visited Washington, D.C., and we actually got to see the real Declaration of Independence on display. And then we went to Philadelphia, and we got to see the State House where it was actually signed. There's so much history here in Massachusetts revolving around the birth of our nation. Hey, let's go see where it all began.
We are on our way to the Minuteman National Historic Park, and we're going to go around and see a whole bunch of different things today, hopefully. I don't know where to park.
Right now, currently in the kids' history. Come here, kids. Come here, be with me. They're rolling their eyes at me. Mom, you're embarrassing me.
We finished school already.
I know, we finished school a day early this week so that we could go do this without having to work on any schoolwork at all. Minuteman National Historic Park. We're going to go learn about the shot that was heard around the world.
I'm excited. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Staring at the mural.
Yeah.
This is cool. You want to sit closer so we can see better?
For the next 25 minutes, we will be going back in time to the year 1775.
What'd you think?
That was so cool.
Yeah?
It was like a story. That was so cool. That was cool, but scary.
Scary. Yeah. You think it's better than a textbook? Yeah, I think so.
So we just finished watching the interactive video. I don't even know if you can call it like just a video.
No, it was almost like a 3D type experience. There's 3 walls, and they all have different things that happen during the story. There's a clock that the time changes to correspond with, at what time did all this happen. I mean, this is the area where Paul Revere rode his ride, and most of us, American history, can remember that story,
Yeah.
hang the lanterns up in the church steeple, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. This is the story in the area of where that happened and how it all went down, and the first shot that was fired and all that kind of stuff. This is right where all that happened.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Textbooks are pretty cool.
You like
Textbooks are
textbooks?
pretty
You prefer a
cool.
textbook?
No. It was really well done. And we are headed to the Hartwell Tavern now.
People had already heard the news. They knew that, some colonists were killed. This is awful,
Yeah.
and in the surrounding area, the militia was gathering.
Can you imagine
at that
like
point
the
in time.
fear? I mean, like they would be gathering there at the tavern just trying to figure out like what's going to happen, what's going on. Like they didn't have social media. So like that's where they would gather and figure out what was happening.
That's right. And then we're going to go to Northbridge, which is where essentially the full larger militia started to gather at
like a real battle.
that's where they really exchanged volleys back and forth of gunfire.
Learned about this when I was a kid. I just didn't really realize, but they started with like 70 militia at this, like 70 men who formed up
in Lexington.
And from those 70 men and from the warnings of Paul Revere, and I'm sorry I can't remember the other name now,
A couple other guys.
they gathered like over 4,000 people. They actually overtook the numbers of the British military, which I think is just fascinating.
They kept marching along the road, and they passed the Hartwell Tavern, and that's what we're going to go see right here.
Yeah.
So this is the tavern space. This is where folks who come to grab a bite to eat, grab a drink, and relax, get the news.
It's Incredible.
Just completely fascinated that this house still stands from 1775. I mean, before then, really. Yeah. Yeah. This is the road that those soldiers would have been walking on in their column. The British soldiers would be walking in their column. Meanwhile, all the militia are hiding behind these stones and in the trees, and they're taking out as many soldiers as they can all the way back, the 16 or 18 miles, all the way back to Boston Harbor. They are following them and surrounding them the entire way back.
Your badges. Why don't you go in here and stand in front of the American soldier?
Ooh. Which one is the American? Which one is the American? Which one is the American? Good job.
Okay, raise your right hand. Congratulations. Good job.
Yay, good job.
We appreciate you again.
Good job.
This is the traditional musket, and you can see this. You see the main barrel that's black that the bullet shoots out of, and then below it is like a stick with a little brass thing on the end of it. That part comes off. And what they would do is they'd take a little bit of gunpowder that was inside of this thing, right, this horn, and then they'd take a little bit of wad, which is like just, could be cotton, cloth of some kind. I'll show you in a second. And then they'd take a musket ball and they would shove it all in the barrel, and then they would ram that all the way down here to the bottom. And what would happen is there'd be a piece of flint down here that would make a spark, and that would ignite the gunpowder, right? Well, the British soldiers had cartridges, and that's what these represent. And the cartridges are different. It was already pre-made for them. They didn't have to pour the powder and that kind of stuff, and that's what made it faster.
Oh, it's candy.
It's candy. It represents how it's made inside of a cartridge. But look, if you look at this is what it would be like, okay? So they have the gun ball at the end is going to be, it represents the musket ball, and then the fruit powder would be the gunpowder that you would put in there, and then the whole thing would wrap up, and that would be like the wad and stuff that would catch on and burn.
There's a gumball?
Let's take it outside and you can open them up and eat them. Normally they just take that whole thing, all wrapped up like that, and that's what they would put down in there, and that's why they were able to fire faster. Some militiamen probably had made them, but most of them had a powder horn and all the other things that they would have to do individually first.
What is it, Pop Rocks?
Oh, wow.
Are you a Redcoat or are you a Minuteman? You're Minuteman? Telling them to go back the way they came?
So we've got a good understanding of the events that took place at the start of the Revolution, but what was life really like for the colonists? This savvy mama discovered a free day at historic Deerfield, so off we went. But first, ice cream. I mean, will there be an episode in this series that doesn't have ice cream? Probably not.
Are you getting your sunshine in before you have to come in and hold down the fort? We are about to head out to historic Deerfield, and we have to like dog-proof now. We've never had to dog-proof so much. She's gotten so smart. You see this can right here, this trash can here? I'll show you. When you push on this, it stays up for half a second before it comes down.
Come here, Cinder, come on.
And Cinder has discovered that she can get into it. She knows how to put her paws on it, and when we're gone, if the trash is too full, she'll just put her head in and help herself. The other day, I found a whole chicken carcass from a rotisserie chicken. There was a rotisserie chicken under my bed, long story short. You're on dog-proof duty?
Dog-proof
You
the
gotta
trash can.
make
I'll
sure,
turn it around.
yes, make sure there's nothing she can get into. So we're loading up and everyone said goodbye to Cinder, and the kids' friends were over here, and it was really funny because they were like, "You're really just gonna leave her?" And John's like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's temperature controlled, and she'll be fine. We monitor." And they're like, "You're gonna leave Chloe?" We're like, "No, the dog." We got her loaded now.
Deerfield was established in 1682 near the bountiful watershed of the Connecticut River. It was the northwesternmost outpost of the New England settlement for several decades during the late 17th and early 18th centuries. There are 12 antique homes dating back between 1730 and 1850. How cool that we can walk through a home that's as old as America herself.
So we're in historic Deerfield right now, and we came on a free day. We got special tickets to come, which has been really fun. And we just walked through their visitor center, and they have an open hearth demonstration. Now, unfortunately, we're not allowed to video or take pictures in some of the buildings.
Yes.
So this was one that we were not allowed to, but it was very interesting because we got to see the whole open hearth and learn about how they would have cooked in like 1760, I think they said, all over an open fire or in their brick oven, and how that works and how they would only bake once a week because it was such an undertaking, and you had to have timing down to a science of when to put things in because the oven would cool down and you'd have to have the next thing ready to go. It was fascinating.
You have to regulate your cooking so the things that require higher heat and oven temperatures you bake with first, and then as the fire dies down, then you bake, say pies or something like that.
Now in their history course, we're learning about colonial days and how people during the time of the Revolutionary War, how the colonists would have been living at that point. So this is perfectly tying into it.
I grab a ribbon, whichever color you want. About 2 inches down from the top. Wrap it around twice.
We got the ribbon down here and the ribbon one.
A couple of scoops. You need a couple. 2 big parties.
It's fun to imagine what life would have been like. We loved that the volunteers and historians focused on what life would have been like for the kids. The boys would likely have become an apprentice of a trade, maybe pottery, or woodworking, weaving, or silversmith, while Chloe would have worked closely with Mom to learn all the ways of maintaining the home. She would also have the option of learning a craft, but she would only earn a fraction of the wages of her brothers.
Chance to move through 3 sections and see what's there, and you guys can pick which one you like the best because that might be the one you have to apprentice at later. So.
Oh.
So enjoy your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
In colonial times, oftentimes young men between the ages of 9 and 11 years old were entered into a contract for 7 years for an apprenticeship. Okay, if you weren't lucky enough to be the oldest to inherit the house, right?
I get the house.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
Master would agree to feed, clothe, educate, and train the young man in the trade. And hopefully it would go well. If it didn't go well and you ran away, the sheriff would bring you back to the master, not to your house. Because during those 7 years, you were his property.
This is the well. That's the old well from 1690.
Each place we visit is another piece of the history puzzle. Everything is connected. At the silversmith shop and display, we found an authentic piece created by Paul Revere himself. Did you know that he was a silversmith by trade? We ended the day learning to play games the children of the late 1700s and early 1800s used to play. I'd say it was one of our kids' favorite part of the day.
2, 3, 4.
This color because it's been in this mound for some time. And then the silkworm spins the cocoon and inside develops. So this is the pupae.
We didn't have time to do the other Deerfield stops like the Yankee Candle flagship store or the Butterfly Garden. Perhaps another trip is in order. On our way home, we took a quick detour to learn about the Connecticut River.
The kids are ready to go home, but we passed this area and it said something about falls
Discovery, Great Falls Discovery Center. We're like, oh, let's just stop there. Let's see what it is. So we're exploring and it's pretty cool. Next week, we're off to Boston again, and this time we aren't taking the bikes or the Jeep. It's time to hit the Freedom Trail, and then we end up getting caught in a wicked coastal storm. Don't miss it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you out there.